the bridge by the river. The small town of Elmsworth was famous for two things: the river that cut through its heart, and the old stone bridge that connected its two sides. People said the bridge had witnessed countless stories of joy, sorrow, and love. For Emily Carter, the bridge was where her life quietly began to change. Emily was a quiet woman in her late 20s, an aspiring writer who often carried her notebook to the riverside. She loved the gentle flow of water, the way the sunlight shimmered across the surface, and the whisper of wind weaving through the willow trees. Every afternoon, she would sit at her favorite bench by the bridge, scribbling fragments of stories that reflected her own dreams and loneliness. One chilly autumn afternoon, she noticed someone new. A man with dark hair and kind eyes stood at the middle of the bridge, sketching in a worn leather notebook. He looked completely absorbed in what he was doing, his brow furrowed as if the world beyond his page didn't exist. Curiosity tugged at Emily. She watched him for days, always from a distance. She wondered what he was drawing, what kind of stories filled his pages. Eventually, fate decided to answer for her. It happened on a breezy afternoon when one of Emily's pages slipped from her notebook and floated toward the bridge. The man caught it just before it touched the water. He glanced at the words, then turned toward her. "Is this yours?" he asked, his voice calm but warm. Emily felt her cheeks warm. "Yes, thank you." He handed the paper back gently, his fingers brushing hers for a fleeting second. "You write beautifully," he said. "I didn't mean to read, but the words caught me." Emily was startled. No one had ever complimented her writing before. "And you draw?" she asked, gesturing to his notebook. He smiled. "Yes. My name's Daniel. I'm an architect, but I like sketching places that feel alive. This bridge, for example." He turned his notebook toward her, revealing a delicate drawing of the stone bridge framed by willows. The details were breathtaking. That was the beginning. From then on, Emily and Daniel often found themselves at the riverside together. She wrote while he sketched, sometimes in silence, sometimes sharing their thoughts about the world. Their friendship grew easily, as natural as the river's flow. She discovered that Daniel had moved to Elmsworth recently, seeking peace after years of working in the rush of the city. He, in turn, learned of Emily's quiet dream to one day publish her stories. As autumn deepened, so did their bond. Daniel began sketching not just bridges or trees, but moments, Emily leaning over her notebook, the way her hair danced in the wind, the small smile she gave when she found the right words. She blushed whenever she caught him, but inside, her heart bloomed with warmth. One evening, under a lantern glow on the bridge, Daniel finally confessed. "Emily," he said softly, "I've spent months drawing the world around me. But lately, all I want to draw is you." Emily's breath caught. Her heart raced, her fingers trembling as she whispered, "And all I want to write about is us." That night, under the hush of the river and the watchful stars, they shared their first kiss, gentle, hesitant, but filled with promise. Seasons changed. Winter brought snow that blanketed the town, spring painted the riverside in blossoms, and summer warmed their laughter. Together, they built a life of simple joys, walks by the river, evenings filled with sketches and stories, dreams they dared to share. Years later, Emily's first published book bore a dedication to Daniel, who taught me that love is the most beautiful story. And in Daniel's studio hung his most cherished sketch, Emily, sitting beneath the old stone bridge, her notebook open, her smile lit by the sun. The bridge remained, steady as ever, but now it held another story, one of a writer and an artist who found each other by the river, and who chose to walk across life's bridge together, hand in hand. Whispers of the evening sky. The small coastal town of Brighton had always been known for its golden sunsets. Every evening, the horizon seemed to catch fire, painting the sky in shades of crimson and violet. For most, it was just a beautiful backdrop to daily life. But for Emma, sunsets were a quiet reminder of her solitude. Emma worked at the town's little bookstore, nestled on a cobblestone street that led straight to the pier. She loved the smell of old pages, the hush of turning paper, and the comfort of stories that never left her side. Though her life was calm, it often felt incomplete, like a book missing its last chapter. One autumn evening, as the streets glowed under lantern light, a stranger walked into the bookstore. His name was Daniel, a photographer passing through town, carrying nothing but a worn leather camera bag and a smile that seemed both tired and hopeful. He asked Emma if the store had any books about the sea. She led him to the section, and he picked out an old volume of maritime poems. His fingers lingered on the cover, and he confessed, almost shyly, "I take pictures of the ocean, but I can never quite capture what it makes me feel. Maybe words can." From that night on, Daniel returned to the bookstore almost every evening. Sometimes he bought books, other times, he simply talked to Emma. They shared coffee, stories, and laughter among the shelves. Slowly, Emma realized she was looking forward to sunsets not because of their beauty, but because they often brought Daniel to her door. As weeks turned into months, their bond deepened. Daniel showed Emma his photographs, wild waves crashing against cliffs, quiet dawns when the sea was still as glass, and stormy skies that mirrored restless hearts. Emma, in turn, shared her favorite poems and novels with him, weaving stories into his images. But winter brought a shadow. Daniel revealed he could not stay forever. He was a traveler, moving from coast to coast, chasing horizons with his camera. His heart longed to settle, but he feared losing the freedom that defined him. The night before he was to leave, they walked to the pier together. The air was crisp, and the waves whispered against the wooden beams. Emma stood silently, her eyes reflecting both the sea and her unspoken feelings. Daniel reached for her hand. "Emma," he said softly, "I've seen so many sunsets, but none have ever felt like home, until I met you." Her heart trembled. "Then why leave?" she whispered. He looked out at the vast horizon. "Because I'm afraid. I don't know how to stay." Tears welled in Emma's eyes, but she smiled gently. "Home isn't a place you find, Daniel. It's something you choose. And sometimes, it's someone who's been waiting for you all along." The waves crashed beneath them, and for a long moment, Daniel said nothing. Then, with a quiet certainty, he pulled her close and kissed her, as though the ocean itself had carried him to her arms. Spring came, and Daniel never left. The bookstore became not only Emma's sanctuary but also his. He turned a small corner into a gallery, where words and photographs lived side by side. And every evening, as the sky burned with the colors of love and longing, they stood together at the pier, no longer waiting for the horizon, because they had already found it in each other. The Bridge of Two Hearts. The small town of Havenbrook was known for its quiet streets, the gentle flow of the river, and the old stone bridge that connected both sides of the town. For most people, the bridge was just part of their daily routine. But for Emma Carter, it was where her story began. Emma had lived in Havenbrook her entire life. She was a schoolteacher, admired for her patience and kindness, yet often described as someone who lived too much inside her books. Her evenings were spent at the riverbank, sketching or reading, watching the sun dip beneath the horizon. She loved the bridge, not because it was beautiful, but because it felt like a silent witness to countless unspoken stories. One rainy afternoon, Emma sought shelter beneath the arch of the bridge. As the storm poured down, she noticed someone else had the same idea, a man, standing quietly with a leather-bound notebook in his hand. His name was Daniel Hayes, a traveler and writer who had arrived in Havenbrook in search of inspiration. Their first meeting was awkward, filled with the sound of rain and polite silence. But when Daniel noticed Emma's sketches scattered across her lap, curiosity sparked. He complimented her drawings, and she shyly returned the gesture, asking about his writing. That brief exchange under the storm marked the beginning of something neither of them had expected. Over the weeks, Daniel returned to the bridge, always at the same time. Emma found herself waiting for him, though she never admitted it out loud. They shared stories, Emma of her students, her dreams of traveling, and her love for art. Daniel spoke of the places he had seen, the loneliness of constant wandering, and the desire to write a story that truly mattered. Slowly, friendship turned into something deeper. Emma realized that her quiet world had begun to change. The bridge became their sanctuary, where laughter echoed against stone walls and whispers of hope floated across the river. Yet, Daniel's presence in Havenbrook was temporary. His publisher awaited his next manuscript in another city, and his journey couldn't simply end in this small town. As the day of his departure approached, both Emma and Daniel felt the weight of unspoken words pressing between them. On their last evening together, the sky blazed with colors of sunset. They stood on the bridge, neither wanting to say goodbye. Finally, Daniel spoke softly, his voice trembling. "Emma, meeting you has changed me. I thought I was searching for a story, but what I found was a home." Tears filled her eyes, but she smiled through them. "And what if that home is only here, waiting for you?" Daniel took her hand and kissed it gently, a promise lingering in his touch. He left the next morning, and for weeks, Emma returned to the bridge, sitting alone, unsure if their story had ended or merely paused. Months later, as winter wrapped Havenbrook in snow, Emma walked across the bridge and stopped in shock. Daniel was there, holding his notebook and a worn suitcase. His smile was brighter than the winter sun. "I finished my book," he said, stepping closer. "But I couldn't finish without you. I don't want to write about love anymore, I want to live it. With you." Emma's heart swelled, her eyes brimming with tears of joy. She whispered the only answer she could. "Then let's begin our story here." The bridge, once just stone and river, became the place where two hearts found their forever.